कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative. Welcome to Cyrus Says, and today we have one of the leading lights on, well, the world at large, not just economy, and a leading light for carrying the torch for women and destroying men like all these horrible people in the studio. The 7 men that surround me, the 7 terrible Indian men with skinny calves. All of us, without one exception. So let's meet her quickly. It's Shaili Chopra, and the book is called Sisterhood Economy, of, by, for women. Obvious takeoff on of the people, for the people, by the people. Instead of people, just like she the people, will come to that. I'm running my mouth as usual. Shaili, I talk a lot, so hopefully you'll interrupt me and you just keep speaking. The show has no format, and honestly, there's nothing much we can do except discuss your greatness and your path to glory, which I can say.
This is the first audio show where there's video, so I may as well show my book.
Hey, you're showing off. You Dali girls are all the same, yaar. देखो मेरे पास माँ है माँ.
I like the Bombay boys who show off this book.
Yeah.
Remember to see the men in the bracket there, huh? And you said I
got the book at 6:30 in the evening, and I had to really race through it. So I haven't shown it to my daughter who's 15. So I'm very happy I'll be taking it back after the show and giving it to her as a little present. She'll think I bought it. Ha ha. Good old pop. But yeah, I'm sure there's a bit in it about Indian men, deceitful and disgusting. Actually, not so much. So let's just talk about the book. How did it all start, firstly? You were on television.
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago, right? And then radio became so big. And then I said, okay, author, I have to have that tag. So now what do? I scrambled for opportunities. I said, let me get out of television first. But yeah, I quit broadcast a while ago when I thought something was brewing in the world of digital. I was very excited by a parallel universe where everybody was. And there I was and said, sorry, television's not happening for me. I'm going to go where others are going to now.
Is that a hint? Guys, I think that's a hint for me. I'll just write it down. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Making the transition. So I just quit TV, what was called mainstream TV, and now moved to what is now mainstream TV, which is the stuff that we are all on, which is digital. The switch wasn't easy on day one, right? Because lived in Bombay, people like you and others, all friends and well-wishers would say, who gets off television in your late 20s and starts in a world of digital? What's that? What's digital? And so I started that off with She the People. And then from She the People, over the last 7 years, it went from what people called hobby to a flourishing business. It took me a hard while to prove that to them. But then, of course, from that came all of these conversations that have been part of my life over the last 22 years of my career, which is sisterhood, what it takes to get out there and get women contributing to the economy. So yeah, TV goodbye and hello to the
Shaili,
new TV.
Can we get the small elephant out of the room? So, because I don't know about tags and labels, and some people don't like being called feminists. I keep saying this, my wife, my mother, my daughter, all very alpha female. So I don't have that in my life. I don't have the male experience of most of India. Chauvinistic males who intimidate and bully, etc. For us, it's almost the opposite. So we're the true minority of India, the minority that's unseen and nobody knows about. So I'm really the wrong person here because I have absolutely no status in my house. But where does this start? The whole idea about this whole book it's almost like a guide. I can see a young woman reading it as it's almost like a guide. It's like A, B, C, D, and you go through it's really well researched and everything is covered. And I'm thinking about it's just amazing the kind of references you've taken, the kind of people you've talked to across north, south, east, west. So all that, where's the idea coming from that you needed to do this?
So first, I want you to know that this isn't a book just that acts as a guide for women. It actually is a damn good guide for men. Okay, how to get it right, how to know what women are going through or girls are going through. So I think other than giving this book to your daughter and getting some brownie points, find other guys and other men around you and please give them this book. I really need them to read it.
Hang on a minute. Spanish, le lo beta. He's a boy. He's a young boy from Delhi, 22 years old, the perfect target audience. He's not married yet. So before you spoil somebody's life, read the book. Yeah. Huh.
you can spoil people's life after marriage also.
That's
just
true.
saying.
There are other ways. There are other ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's in the book. So, the book sort of came around because I felt that we'd spent too much of our time defining what you call the elephant in the room. What is feminism? Who's a feminist? What does she look like? Does she wear pink? Does she become somebody who just takes a lathi and charge out, outside mill areas? Who are these women? What do they want from their life? And I just wanted to normalize the conversation about how regular women have regular dreams like anybody else, and we just don't care to think about their dreams or what they want to do with their lives, or why we glorify the notion that, women are the worst enemy of another woman, but actually we have mums raising us. Why aren't they raising us better, right? We have half the country as female and the other half is raised by these women. Why are we still going wrong? So it's a great insight into looking inwards for women, as well as they do try to fight the various battles about finding their rights, going out there and speaking up, getting onto shows like yours, and various other things, television, pop culture, bechari, badass, bitch syndrome.
Yes, chapter 6 reference immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to say we put women in silos, right? She walks into the room and like, "Arey, ye to wo type hai, behenji type hai, cool type hai, oh, don't mess with her type hai, she looks
but
too serious."
But don't we do that with
hai.
men, Shaili? Don't we do that with men also? When somebody comes in the room, don't you say that he's conservative or whatever? Maybe the labels are a little not clear. The labels you've used are very clear and blunt.
Rather respectful, no? Conservative type hai.
Yeah.
Or he looks like the guy who's the banker or the VC with the bonus. Matlab wo sab.
Yeah, so what you're saying...
Okay.
So there's no indignifying of the situation is what you're saying. I get it totally. While the label is very coarse for the ladies, but there's also I may have misread things, so please correct me. Are women sometimes to blame for this as well because of the SARS factor and sort of like a cycle that continues from one generation to the next to follow chauvinistic sort of lifestyles and practices which are pushed by the senior alpha female in the house?
Actually, it's created by the alpha male in the house or anywhere. Because for alpha males, it's really important that everybody works to their game, right? And so who could be these people who play the game? Other men and women who can be converted to play their games. Which is why what happens is we forget about that element and then suddenly start talking about, are women within to be blamed? So actually, the truth is we are all against the system of patriarchy, where patriarchy is starting with a certain number of men and then it's getting passed to certain women who are unable to see it coming at them or unable to, let's say, move away from it.
Or enjoy the power.
Exactly. It gives them a false sense of power, right? But they don't remember that they are actually just pawns in the game of patriarchy and they're just passing this down for no reason. And I feel like breaking that toxic cycle is what Sisterhood is all about. The entire book focuses on talking about the economy in a way we say, look at all these X factors that play into what women can do when it comes to the economy. And if we don't fix these X factors, such as the alpha male, the alpha female, I'm using the term alpha just because, talking about it, but I mean, no definitive term there. But really the point is that we just put women there to play the game the way they can't, especially the ones who can't. And I think that's really the majority of women I've interviewed here, because we think that, I'm South Delhi, I'm Gurgaon, I'm professional, I'm this, I'm that, or South Bombay. This doesn't happen to me. Actually, the book really proves length and breadth of the fact that whether you're a girl who's living outside in a village in Karjat, or whether you're somebody who's living in a south of some city, or whether you're just a techie who's at the start of her first career struggling the hell out of her life, we're all facing the same problem. We have issues in being able to assert ourselves, speak up, deal with people who are questioning us, and often just bury ourselves in others' expectations of who we are.
Let me just clarify to people listening and or listening, that we're not trying to get the solutions in this 1 hour chat. That they have to read the book. It's called Sisterhood Economy, and I'm going to just come to that word right now because that's what you're sort of hinting at as well. This empowerment, which is part of the whole deal for anybody, male, female, gorilla. The whole thing, it begins with sort of your life and your career and your future and being your own sort of government for yourself, which women relinquish, you've given all these examples. I'll just take one which top of my head. There's one, I think, because my father-in-law was London School of Economics and I know my daughter wants to go there. So this lady is, she's raised from a very rich family, a big Marwari family, goes to London School of Economics, gets a degree, is all right, ready, set, go for taking on the corporate world and probably in 15 years heading something, but then is married off and her life is over. That's it. There's nothing more to her life but the domestic situation, which is not a bad thing either, but she was raised for one thing. So just take us back a little bit and just, is there a right thing to do?
I won't talk about rights and rights. I may talk about the wrongs, but there's not, your right and my right can be very different. As you said at the start of this question, we're not looking for solutions. If I had solutions coming up in 1 hour, I would have been with Cyrus a long time ago before I started writing this book, talking about these. The idea is to elucidate what is happening to all of us on a very everyday basis. But what we do instead is benchmark ourselves against the world's hardest possible truth that we have to achieve, like climbing the Everest or something, and say, जब मैं वहां पहुंचूंगी तब मैं एक successful woman होंगी, जब मैं ये करूंगी तब I'll become somebody who's worth an achiever. I'm just trying to break down these bizarre expectations and benchmarks both men and women put for women, and therefore the system puts it for them, right? You have to either be a top-notch CEO who's prim and proper and can't ever repeat her sari or her dress, and her hair doesn't move from left to right, and then you'll be a successful CEO. Then you'll have yourself in the same magazine 10 times over a decade. This is not what success is, and this is not what sisterhood economy is. And if we want to be a $5 trillion economy as a country, half our population needs to contribute just as the other half. Let's not diss them because they don't wear black suits and show up in air-conditioned cars. We really need to fix that. So to the example of this London School of Economics, right? I mean, it was such an eye-opener. I understand there's like a close group around this that talks about these issues. And this particular institute is only symptomatic of large number of many Ivy League colleges where women are sent by rich parents because they want to have a really well-educated daughter. Nothing wrong with it. Great. I mean, if you can afford it, send your child to the best. But when she comes back, she's told, ab sab kuch ho gaya, CV is looking good, now time to get married. And she's asking herself, I wanted to be an investment banker. I wanted to run this startup. I wanted to join this company. What about that? Like, that's not why we sent you. We sent you so you could get a good degree, feel that you went into a good education, come back and get married and do what you need to do, which is run the household, have a family. And education is the parents' responsibility, and they've done it, right? But that's where they are.
But also the other problem is that very often many of these girls or young ladies are actually pretty good at what they do. It's not just that they're good at academics. They probably have an eye for economics, have an eye for entrepreneurship or whatever, and that is just nipped in the bud. So we are losing out holistically as a country, as a world, because you're letting talent go. It's almost like a brain drain of 2020 onwards, which I find really strange because I've grown up with a lot of girls. I don't want to say this, and we come from privileged, the white privileged version of subcontinental Asia, and a lot of the girls I've grown up with don't work now. And I'm stunned because they were so good at studies and they were very motivated and they were very hardworking, very sincere, firstly. That's the word that comes to mind between the two genders. More sincere than the boys. And then all the talent has just not been discovered. It just reached a precipice and disappeared. That's it. And I don't know. Again, it's not like we have solutions to anything, but it's a horrible waste that seems to happen to intellectual capital and ability and talent.
We're torn between women who want to work desperately, don't have opportunities or access to many of these institutions, would want to build careers and contribute in ways that is working at home, but also working outside. Instead, what you're saying is exactly what is beginning to happen among a lot of women. And this is conditioning, right? Because part of the conditioning is that, humne sab kuch kar liya, bachcho, ab tum use enjoy karo, right? So that's part of the other problem that much younger generation than us is facing. But in our generation, the problem has not been that women are lazy. Their parents are conditioning them to become that. They don't want them to go out there and stand on their 2 feet and have a voice. As an Instagram post that I quote in the book says, parents want you to be married before 21 because they are worried that after 21, you'll start having an opinion on what you want to do with your own life, which is really problematic. But you were talking about 2020, but this is 2022. And I at least know 3 women in the last 2 months who have quit their jobs at 20 because their parents don't want potential rishta people to think that their daughter works. I don't get it. I just don't get the fact that it's one thing to want their child to work or one thing to have the, demand for the economy to flourish. But what about that girl? Her own agency. Padhai kariye, paise kamaegi, will have a decision-making power on herself. Instead, whatever my husband gives me, I will spend that money. Whatever I want, I can ask for it. Imagine asking for it. 99.9% women don't want to ask for anything.
Self-worth, self-esteem, self-independence, all these things go out of the window. As a father of a young daughter, I'm thinking that this kind of book really, honestly, fathers should read first because it's almost like criminal that you're nipping these people in the bud, nipping young girls in the bud when they have, even if they're not that talented. I'm saying give them a chance to fail. Let them go out there and do things or whatever. And as you said, stand on their own 2 feet. Coming back to that other idea, I want to borrow it for the government. Maybe if they let children vote, that's one way the governments can stay in power. You get like 6-year-olds to vote for you because it's a bit better. Ye dabao, bas ho gaya, and done. You got your vote. So I'm going to write that
So
down.
why did they promise jobs and not Ivy League colleges after which they have to come back and get married?
I'm just, by the way, Shaili, I'm just saying that this is your idea to the government. The children should vote. We are going to empower them. Yeah. So let's look at a couple of chapters from the book. First, let's begin with the women's economy. I think you sort of touched on that, which is basically you're talking about how 50% of the population should contribute as well. And if that happens, you can really see the projections in terms of what we can achieve financially and fiscally to another level altogether. So let's go back a little bit and tell us about the women's economy.
So, one of the pieces that I think really matters in that particular chapter is what I talk about when it comes to women being able to look at themselves beyond the statistic. All the numbers out there are just mentioned at the start of the book, largely because we all like to get sucked in by numbers. Oh, sounds like a big opportunity.
And it sounds like you work hard as an author, because the moment you see that, you say, oh God, this woman really works hard.
Right. And at least proved my economics honors degree worth.
Exactly. And it's how the pandemic worked. They just kept throwing data at you with lots of figures. You're never going to verify it. 80,000 people died in 16 minutes, whatever, boom, it's done. Yeah. Not to say that you're lying. Huh.
No, I tried not to. So anyway, but the numbers do that sometimes. That said, I think the opportunity and the talk around what Sisterhood Economy wants to be is much bigger. The reason for that is that we look and analyze that factors here, which are so integral to the economy, but we don't bother about them. Why? Because they're not measurable. And actually, most of the stuff around women is not measurable, other than, of course, the housework and other issues which are more concrete and visible to us, even though still not measurable. But think about the fact that when women go out there, I was talking about professionally and academic prowess, women consider themselves less even before they've arrived at the college, arrived before a large school where they're doing a very complicated subject like statistics honors or something. They're like, I'm not sure this is for me. Girls don't do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just internalize this. Girls don't do this. Girls should be in X honors and Y honors, and boys shouldn't be in English honors or history honors. Who does that course? You know what I mean? We've done this. Similarly, when women think of themselves at jobs, they're like, I don't think I can ever be CEO. They don't even tell themselves that. They don't want to even wish it because, oh God, that's too far. It's so far that we have just forgotten about it. It's light years away. If we start thinking that it's potentially possible, I can't even imagine the skates that these women are going to wear and speed at, but we just don't. So part of the reason why women's economy was written as the first chapter is to kind of highlight how much we internalize about how economically worthless women are. Just completely worthless. What they do cannot be measured. What they do is not worth it. All of that. This is the problem, that we ourselves have part of it, and part of it is the
it's a vicious
system.
cycle, the stereotyping. I'm thinking about it. How do you stop all this now? Because everything you're saying is correct. The way we pigeonhole the ladies in this compartment, the men in that compartment, and they cannot cross into each other's compartments. Yeah, the big question here, on a personal level, how did you get in? How did you think about it? It all makes sense now as you read the book and you understand and you sound very wise and all. But where did the ideas come from you that disjointed societies out there?
No, it just comes from talking to women. I think that's part of the problem that we've had. Media as a whole in this country has never bothered to talk and understand things from the gender lens at all. We've always looked at it from the top. What does it mean for the lofty numbers of the economy? What does it mean for men, which is the biggest drivers of the Indian economy currently, technically in the organized labor market? Women are less than 25% of the labor force. This number is nearly 50% in the United States. And we're talking about numbers of corporations that are registered and organized and large. You look at labor, you look at beauty parlors, you look at a lot of startups, which are doing micro entrepreneurship. Women are not counted. If somebody's running a sewing machine and doing 400 rupees worth of work a day in a village or in a city, she's not counted because she's just running into the cash economy, which doesn't count. So a lot of these conversations with women, whether or not they were technically contributing to the economy, just made me realize that most of them at the core of it feel that they don't deserve what they can do, and what they don't know what they can do, and who cares what they can do? Will somebody be interested in their story at all? This is what made me wonder that we think so badly of ourselves, so low of ourselves, that there is only an upside, from here. If we start cranking up the system a bit and seeing a 10% jump in how we think about ourselves, I'm going to go boost.
I'm very worried now that the government listening to the podcast is going to go after some women, the ones you mentioned who are part of this cash economy, not paying tax. So much for their entrepreneurship. Catch them.
Anyway.
400 400 रुपए का अंतर कितना होता है? 150 immediately per day. I mean, that's more VIP presence everywhere, more cars for them, more uniforms for the police and the bodyguards. Be very careful. Okay, I want to get back to the curse of the Sasu Ma thingy because the way Indian culture is, it's so strong across length and breadth of the country. The living conditions, because you've I think chapter, what is it, 5? Yeah, I think it's chapter 5. You want to tell us? I mean, we can't go through every single thing. I'm just trying to jump as much as we can.
Yeah.
You want to tell us about that world? Because
So that was really interesting, no? Sasuma is the term that we have not just experienced, we've seen it on television. I mean, decades and decades of Indian television TRP ratings have been hinged on what the Sasuma says, how she dresses, how she shows her eyes and what she's going to do next, right? So all of that is so fascinating because when you start looking at it with a lens of economics and you say, what nonsense, how can Sas Bahu piece be about economics, right? But think about it. How many women recognize and how many men recognize that women spend a lot less time with their mums and nearly 2/3 or 3/4 more time with their mother-in-laws? So how come we've not paid more attention to what a mother-in-law can do in the life of a woman, right? I think that's really fundamentally one realization that hit me. And then I started researching and stumbled upon this fascinating report by a World Bank economist who talks about the importance of how a mother-in-law will determine whether that daughter-in-law will have the injections on time. She will make sure that she has contraception or not. How many kids does she need to have? Whether or not she can have her operation done after the extra kids are born in the quest of a guy. I mean, the kind of decision-making a mother-in-law does in a woman's life and a married woman's life is insane. But we only look at one aspect of it, which is the Lalita Pawar syndrome, right? I really think that there's a need for us to change it.
These references, not the fact that Shaili, these references are for you and me. Huh? There are also 18, 19-year-olds. Now, Lalita Pawar, we'll have to put a picture up.
Okay, like, yeah, I guess, like any
even Saas Bhi Kabhi Ma and all these things are dated now. I don't know what the present soap operas are. Yeah.
But I'm just hoping that they'll get the gist. And I'm also hoping a lot of them will just choose not to get married because it's probably not what needs to be done.
No, just tell them to read the bloody book. Yeah, then they'll understand everything. We're doing short form here. Everything is short form in a conversation. So this is the main book. The book will explain all. And the good thing about this book for people listening again is the examples are real. They're real examples that have been researched by Shaili, and you'll identify, women will identify with these examples. I identify with the examples as well because we all live in the same world. It's not like we're outsiders to this world. Sorry. Yeah. So you were saying?
So I was just saying that the Sasuma is an important factor in, playing a constructive role, which could, of course, be linked to how nicely we can try and project some of the good Sasumas who are doing well. I've seen, for example, I've talked a lot about Manjari Varde and Samira Reddy, both of who are trying to break that mother-in-law, daughter-in-law stereotype. And it's so wonderful because it talks about...
And Samira looks hotter than her daughter-in-law. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'm saying the space that women provide each other is a big factor around this. Part of the chapter on Sasuma is closely linked to the role of mothers. And this is one of the reasons why I think this book is doing so well, because a lot of the times we are just putting such big trophies on our mums, right? I mean, we're not saying we don't need, but we're always saying the mothers are the best, they are the best, they have to be glorified, and the mother-in-laws are shit. That's not how the real world is. The mothers are also raising us wrong. They're screwing up in places. And we're not able to either call it out or we're just blindsided by what.
Because Saas Bhi Kabhi Ma Thi. I've got the latest show. I've understood your point. We are casting. Yeah. Please write into us. Yeah.
But girls don't have to have any of that, right? Yeah. So I'm just saying that's another part of the journey of a girl that I reflect on. And a lot of women wrote to me and still do on Instagram DMs that, it's so hard to first get this fixed at home before we can go and become what they call paraya dhan into somebody else's lives. And I think that is, to me, one of the most important parts of the way sisterhood comes across is so relatable because we are going through this. We're scared to say this because it doesn't look good.
Yeah, but sadly we don't have that much time, so I'm going to choose I'll just choose it out of, obviously it'll be like luck, okay, whatever chapter we go to next. I'm just going to choose it. Number 9, the big orgasm, equality in the bed sheets. I mean, guys, you saw that was completely...
I just don't think Cyrus would ask me anything from that.
Yeah. Well, I want to learn. Is it too late to learn? We all want to learn. Like you said,
not at all.
I mistakenly said that it's for ladies to read first, but now as I think about it, what you said about men reading, it's probably compulsory for men to read, and hopefully women will read as well.
Yes. So when all my guy friends saw, sheepishly told me they'd read 2 chapters and they named some other chapter before they named this, I knew which one they'd read first, right?
Of course, 100, come on. You know the Indian male, yaar.
I was very happy they read this first, and I hope they did something about it because...
Or felt ashamed.
Exactly. Like, this should be an eye-opening chapter for most people, including a debate I had with a guy who was interviewing me. I'm often trying to get more men on the shows to interview me about this book because I feel men need to read it. And one of them said, I still don't think this chapter needs to be in this book, right? Because we never think that women are sexual beings and that having desires and rights to pleasure and rights in the bed sheets are linked to your autonomy.
So you realize men are uncomfortable with this conversation, men who only talk about women's asses and breasts and all that. And then suddenly when you ask them, I've noticed this all the time. If a woman asks a man about sexual, in a clinical way, clinical sexual conversation, man is very uncomfortable generally. It's strange.
Yeah, you just said, no, men talk about breasts and asses, but look
amongst
at the fact that
ourselves.
women don't do that.
Yeah,
but I'm saying the women don't do that. That's part of the chapter's problem, right? What
horrified if it's true. Most men, like Spursh right now.
Women are not able to look at themselves without thinking of presenting themselves to somebody else.
Yeah.
Where's our agency in ourselves?
That you can sexualize men like that. Women, I mean, Rishi he's having a heart attack. He's a young lad of 27 and he's a complete MCP, he says at home, and proud. Yeah. So sorry, let's quickly go through where you sort of probe the issue threadbare. Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to a lot of women, as I did for the rest of the book. And this question was something like, nobody's ever asked us this question. So I'm like, I'm asking you this question. Tell me, do you really feel that somebody cares about your desire, your pleasure? Do you have the right to express? And in 80% of the cases, the answer was no. And what fascinated the hell out of me was that women in many parts of rural India, we think it's koi baat nahi karta hai. They were so clear. They were like, yeah, we know exactly what goes on. We know exactly what we need to do. Now, it's a different matter that they have not been exposed to the idea of that they can put their desires first. They can talk about what gives them pleasure, what doesn't, because that's a conversation that nobody has had with them, right? Certainly not expose them to those kind of things in terms of like how to ask for it. But I felt that they were far more sexually more emancipated than women in urban India.
They were true to themselves, but they were still the male was still the overlord in the situation. Okay, but
yes, because for them, pleasure is not for themselves. But it's for what you present.
But let's talk about urban males who are going to read this book. Urban males are uncomfortable and awkward with this whole situation, and the reason being
because they're just so used to prioritizing themselves.
Are you listening to the show, boys? They're all quiet. Yeah, the room has gone deadly quiet. Shaili, don't come here. Don't come here right now. You've upset a lot of guys who think they're very liberal and left of center and egalitarian. That's up, theek hai yaar. We all know what you really are. Huh? All right.
So coming out of this particular chapter, I remember having this chat with the team that does work on health with me. And we were just discussing this. Like half the problem, the reason men don't think that women's products on sexual wellness are important for the market is because most of them are not talking with their women.
I can only speak for my own wife who says that never has she been satisfied. Ever. She has no idea what it's like. And that's why I have to buy her the book and say, maybe this will help. Just read the book and feel better about yourself. You can do what you can do.
I have this feeling that this show is going to be edited and a clip will be inserted right here in the need to have the other side.
Yeah. The one male who's been battered. All right, apparently we have to go to break. Asha, you want to take a break? You're uncomfortable with the topic? At exactly this point. So my producer Sparsh is saying, Jenny doesn't push me for a break, but because there's a hard stop. That's the real reason. But what a point to say, Indian male discussing his performance in bed and unable to now have a conversation. Where's your monologue now, boys? Where's the voice? Shaili's asking the big questions. Come on, chat now. Hey, kya body hai? Kya body hai? Kya body hai? Kya nahi hai? Sorry, Shaili. This is a podcast has become some rubbish going on the side now and we're just wasting your time. We'll take a quick break and come back and try and get AMA questions and things like that, emails. And of course, Silverie will join us. He's a young man who's just out of a relationship. He's brokenhearted, but he's back in the saddle again. And he says that he always puts women's pleasure above his own pleasure, although he spends more time with his own pleasure. But that's because of social issues. All right, we'll take a break. Okay, we're back after that long break. Shaili is still with us. The book, let me remind you, is called The Sisterhood Economy of, by, for women. And of course, the women, there's men in brackets and W outside it. Let me get the camera right. There it is. Yeah. All right. Please go and buy the book. Again, a book you must have. I wrongly said it's for all ladies, but it's for everybody. Male, female, and LGBTQ and everybody else. Let's not, we're not going to, cut anybody off because it goes beyond gender after some time. It's all about empowering yourself and making sure, if I could, please correct me again, empowering yourself and making sure that you call the shots in your life. I think that's the key. If one had to do a one-liner from the whole thing. And once you're a parent, you understand that. Because I can't believe generations of parents only worry about the sons. Because it's just taken for granted the woman will be looked after. Daughter will be looked after. And that's the thing she's addressed in the book a lot. Shaili, we've got this young man who was a bit of an MCP till he read the book. And he changed completely.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, Silverie.
I just found out about women orgasms.
You really?
No, hold about that. What is that?
Where to go?
You learn something new every day.
So what's happened to the Bombay guys? They're only reading chapter 9. I have to warn you. They're reading chapter 9. That's all they're getting out of it. They're not understanding.
Orgasms can be big also. Wow.
Economy nahi hai isme.
Shaili, you had also mentioned about how the media actually talks about, or lack thereof, how they don't talk about it properly, how they don't talk about, say, women issues or women...
or portray it properly.
Portray them properly. So what needs to change then, according to you? Like, what should they be doing different?
A lot. I'll give you an example. Let's talk numbers. Out of 1,000 stories, 800 are focused on Bollywood, governments, and cricket. The balance 200 have everything else, including women. So we are just so busy, therefore, reporting only, for example, on crime and rape, which is a very important thing to report on. We don't report on successful stories of women other than the 5 top magazines. We don't report on women who are happy and enjoying a party. Oh, which women enjoy a party? Can we show that?
Yep,
we just don't understand that we can show women in other light.
Or women ogling at Sparsh at Carter Road every day. They ogle at him. He's completely uncomfortable about that because they're all in their 80s. These old bunch of really old ladies. But what the hell? They're women too.
I mean, he's asking them for the massage thing.
Huh?
Yeah, we need to show stuff like that. Women staring at men. Yeah. How is that even possible? Shouldn't we?
Women have sexual thoughts
about their lives on the streets. Walking the streets and seeing mere piche koi aurat nahi aa rahi hai.
I feel that if women don't stare at me,
one second.
They shouldn't be staring at anyone.
She's got my fantasies spot on. Huh? I'm walking the streets and there's a girl following me and I'm wondering if she's stalking me. That's my Monday evenings. Nice. But
this is the difference. You see it as fantasy. Women are stuck with fear. Yeah, this is what we need to change. Come on, man, you get better. Don't follow us.
Well, Shaili, there are women and there are women. I mean, there are men and there are men. But let's go to 11 for a second because I think that the question get the answer somewhat in that. There's no answer. Technology can change the game. You want to take us through that a little bit?
Yeah, the reason I put that in is because I think women in the last few years have seen that they can really get out of their world by getting into a laptop or a phone. And they seem to find both sisterhood and strength in what they can do with their lives. There are opportunities, there's access, and there's an availability of potential jobs that they can do while sitting at home without rocking all their boats at the same time. We started this show by talking about what is feminism, and no point do we say that, feminism is about leaving everything at home and just going and trying to build a new life if that's not something you can do. If your circumstances are hard, try navigate them rather than put yourself through so many variables that you can't get anything in place. So I think a lot of women who are stuck with circumstances that they need to navigate, having children, you can't just leave your children and walk off. You're having difficult marriages, you still can't do that. I mean, much that women would love to, but sometimes they can't. What can they do? Can they use technology to step out of their world in some way? Can they become financially independent? Can they find that sisterhood to have conversations? Could they find somebody else going through a similar moment and seek answers to their own situation? So I think technology really does have many answers, including, for that matter, financial technology now gives them the opportunity to earn in a way that they can also spend digitally. So you don't have to hide your cash under your petticoats and, like from families and husbands and uncles.
So is this somewhat going to the narrative of victim versus the victor thingy, that you can look at it, you look at it more like how to conquer rather than how to, how the world sucks?
I never think women are victimizing themselves. Their circumstances are. That's why I look beyond that binary of victim versus the victor, because that's not really how things are.
Shaili, I have spoken to friends of mine who tell me how frustrated and unhappy they are and that they wish they had carried on with their careers. When you go back in life and think that we discussed at the crossroads at 2021 when they make that jump forward with everything going for them and they don't do that. And at 37, they're looking back and thinking, what the hell? This is boring. The kids are almost grown up now. What do I do?
And there's also this other section, if I'm not wrong, where so there'll be career women, right? But their ghar pe, like their saas bahu or whatever, their saas or their in-laws and all will still expect that after a full day of work, you still have to come back home and then make food for me and then serve me food and all that thing. So that is also like a double standard that shouldn't exist. Course.
Yeah, but I think there are two parts to that standard. One is what they expect of us, and the other is the fact that a lot of women give in. I really encourage women that who can try not to give in, they shouldn't give in. And I've actually given my own personal examples there that when I got married, I said, I'm not giving in to anything that is expected of me because I have to now be a bahu, which is a certain definition, right? Which is why I have a brilliant relationship with my in-laws. I really don't.
Also, you introduced your in-laws to Zomato, which, has solved everything. Try now? No problem. King, king.
Not important. Technology plays a role, as I've been talking about.
There you go. You win again. Yeah.
Well done.
Follow us on Instagram at What Cyrus Says for the best bits from the show, memes and much more. Okay, I'm just saying much more, but nothing dirty, I promise. Okay, well, I can't promise, but just follow and see for yourself, huh? Any other questions, or should we take the emails?
Let's go to some.
Okay, we go to the emails that we have right now. Hopefully from both genders. I haven't checked.
Yeah, we have from both genders. Yeah. All right. The first one comes in from Gauri Sinha, who asks. She says, "Hi Cyrus and Shaili. Shaili, you worked in broadcasting as well, and now run your own online platform and business, She the People. Making it in broadcasting versus on a social platform. What are some of the bigger differences that you have noticed in both of those units?"
Okay, so now this is what we haven't discussed because as we have little time. Your personal story. Okay, we've not even got into that because we're just talking about the book. So please.
Yeah, no, I think it was really big for me to, when I stepped out of broadcast, I told myself that here is a brand who's leaving the broadcast space and trying to build something brand new. Can I reverse this? Can I not be the brand of my next journey? Can my brand be the brand of my next journey? Which is when She the People started. I literally went sort of underground saying, let's build She the People. Let's see what it can push boundaries with. And today, honestly, the 3.2 million followers it has or the 20 million eyeballs it gets a month.
Wow.
They don't know Shaili. They know She the People. And I think that for me is like huge. I recently went for some festivities in the middle of a Pujo pandal. I had 3 women who came up to me and said, are you She the People?
Is Pujo pandal the right pronunciation? I'm a little worried. Go on.
So for me, that was a big deal to have at least made that transition. How do you build a brand outside of your own self and build it on social media where everyone really can call you out the way they want to.
Absolutely.
And yet celebrate. Somebody said this from within my extended family and I never thought of this. She said, before we had She the People, I didn't know other women were going through what I was.
Wow.
Come on.
That's powerful.
Of course, you know that other women also feel trapped. I'm talking about specifically our society.
Talk about it. And who puts words onto what they think? Who puts words on?
Or Insta makes them lie. Tell you how happy everybody is. Picture of sunset, walking the dog, whatever. Me and my happy husband, 12th anniversary, and all that rubbish. Who wants to be married 12 years?
That's why we go somewhere else to find which other sisters are facing this. That's the power that I think.
But now you screwed up my mind completely because you're talking about the brand is separate from you. It's all firstly we sound arrogant. Secondly, how arrogant are we? Because we have Cyrus Says as the name.
Yeah.
What I mean? She the People. So her brand is the female legacy that she wants to leave behind. And here we just talk about ourselves. That's the whole male-female divide. See, male ego and females far more, holistic in their approach. All right, the next one.
Next one comes from Nishant Johar, who says, hey Cyrus, what's happening? Big fan of the show. He says, I can't believe I'm typing this while wearing one of the Cyrus Says Big Boomer Energy t-shirts.
Which is what I'm wearing.
Which is what you're wearing also. This is crazy.
Firstly, Shaili, is it Shaili or Shaili? I heard
Shaili.
you. No, she's pronouncing it Shaili.
Shaili.
It's not Shaili. It's Shaili.
Hey, Silverie, as a bloody Punjabi, you should know this.
Shaili is another pronunciation of the word.
We are presuming it's a cut of Shalini or something. It's not.
Sorry?
Sorry?
No, carry on.
No, he's Panju, so I'm just presuming that he should know how to pronounce the name, right? If it's a fairly common name, but it's not actually.
I mean,
is it?
So not.
It's not.
Not at all.
And Shaili is the name. There's no Shalini or Shaili something and then it becomes Shaili.
No.
Cyrus, don't start me on that one. I'll be putting an Instagram post about when people like Cyrus call me Shalini.
I don't know. I love trying to figure out names, especially when they hit you and they're not like Pooja, Shweta, whatever. So, you try to figure it out.
But yeah, 89 out of 100 people call me
You must
Shaili.
have intimidated many men who can't see your name and are feeling worried to pronounce it wrong. Especially those who have crushes on you when they were young and stuff. I can imagine them going like, Shaili? Or they
Why just when I am young? Come on.
Oh, okay, sorry. You're still young. Yeah, chapter 7. Learn how to talk to women.
Crushes even when you're growing up. It's okay.
No. You write another book for men, okay? Just for men. I know this is also for men, but we need different tuitions. Sorry, so you were saying?
Next
I will be chapter 9 all the way.
Chapter 9 to I haar gaya. I read it and I agreed completely, yeah.
So Nishant Johar says, yes, big fan. He says, here's my question to you and the guest. What did success mean to you earlier in life, say at the age of 20? And what does it mean to you now at this point in your life? Do you ever wonder how many things you achieved that you wanted to at age 20?
Well, I won a darts competition at 20, but it was only a Ghatkopar one road. So I don't know if that counts. But let's go to the formerly known as Shaili, who's now Shaili.
Shaili.
At 20, you weren't on telly yet.
Actually, Shaili, yeah.
Shaili on telly.
No, listen,
Shaili on telly.
At 20, at 20, getting a job was success. It was really hard.
Academically, were you one of those successful girls, the stereotype of super student? No?
I had to work the shit out of my life in order to pay my school fees, college fees.
But for me, school and... Oh, you did. School and college, the girls were toppers. Always. It was like the 1, 2, 3, 4. There was the odd guy.
No, I wasn't a topper in college. Actually, I did not want to be a topper. There was just too much hard work. And it's also, I'm not big on benchmarks. I don't like this class, my first star, first bencher and all that. I wanted to have fun. So I worked throughout college and earned some money and chilled out a little bit. But I did land up my first job after learning journalism from the BBC and the Hindu at the Asian College.
Not the same school. Yeah, but similar, yeah. And Ram also has an accent. If you heard him speak English, it sounds like a guy from
Yes, right. He wasn't our English teacher, thankfully, though.
Yeah.
Anyway. Success has meant different things for me at different points. But honestly, I do have, I have a different success goal for every decade of my life. So 20s was TV mein kuch kar lo. 30s was let's build Achieve the People. I have just turned 40, so I am now building Gayatri.com, which is focused on women's health and sexual health. Men must visit the website to know what their wives, girlfriends, partners are going through.
Don't go through when it comes to sexual health.
I'm going to go through.
Yeah.
And in the 50s, I think I'll learn Kathak. I'm learning the drums now, but I think it'll take me some time to
it says
perform.
so. Yeah. Wow.
So
you go for an Indian classical recital and there's a percussionist going berserk.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why
So
not?
when did you start with Gayatri?
So I literally started Gayatri about 8 months ago, and it's a product of what women at She the People have talked about. That was also part of the journey of sisterhood, talking to women about health and how they land up at doctors for the first time when they have babies. Until then, they could perhaps almost die in the loo, bleeding the hell out, but nobody will reach out to them, or they will not reach out to a doctor to go and solve for it. So it's
Okay, Karen, sorry.
It's a preventive health platform for women to say, yes, preventive health matters. Don't land up at the doctor when everything is done.
And in your spare time, can you also train the Miss Indias for question answers? I feel once they read your book, they'll be empowered. No, because sometimes they look empty and shallow because it's all this loud sounding posturing and, it's whatever.
And they ask like impossible questions, like how would a regular person know the question?
They always start the answer with, thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Like I've given you a plot of land or something. It's a stupid question about how will you solve the world's problems or something. Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
First, I will make sure that all pigeons will be fed.
What is the next question?
Really.
What is the next question? Yes, that's true. That's a great pitch for me. Thanks, Cyrus, especially since you're in Bombay and everyone in Bombay is into Miss Indias, etc.
What does that mean?
He's making us all out to be shallow.
So female aspiration. Female aspiration, you're saying London's
that's the hub where all of this plays out. And I really want the level of vanity obsession that sometimes I think Bombay leads to because of his film industry connection. Needs to cut down.
If you're trying to call Bombay shallow, you're right. So don't you mince your words.
I love the city. It's not shallow, but it's
shallow.
just
Shallow,
badass
Shaili, shallow. Come on. But no, I'm just thinking that men are really strange that way. But women aspire to economic glory now, and hopefully will be inspired not just by you, but people like you all across the world. And men aspire to meeting Miss Indias. That's not changing, no? She's Miss India. it's horrible, the label. People don't understand. I think if you're Miss India, you should just run away for 2 years. Right, sorry, the next one.
You think the title Mr. India
Nobody
has
cares.
Yeah, I don't think most people
name
care.
one guy.
Exactly.
Ask me 1,000 DMs a day and she the people. We will start he the people. You are anti-men. And we will be Mr. this and Mr. that. I'm dealing with it. I don't know how many times a day I get this,
Did you not explain to him that he the people has been tried for many years and that she the people is the concept that's now reached?
This status quo is called he the people. We need she the people to pay attention to women.
I think nothing is funnier than a really chauvinistic man who thinks he's not.
Yeah,
Just
correct.
great.
Yeah.
I believe
I'm just trying to be equal, yeah.
Chai pila do, Next one.
Next one comes from Vaidehi Shah, who says, "Hey Cyrus and Shaili, I've been following both of you for years, but I must say the two of you seem like you're almost poles apart. Cyrus with his brash and self-deprecating sense of humor, and Shaili with her outspoken, badass, fearless persona. It would bring me great joy if you guys could come to an agreement as to 3 things right now. Number 1, the best city in India. Number 2, the biggest frustration in life. And number 3, your biggest pet peeve during the pandemic. So number 1, the best city in India.
Bombay,
the two of you can come to an agreement.
No, God, I'm just so angry with this VIP movement. I can't bear it. Yeah, the way they just posturing all these morons who know nothing.
Bombay fry is my favorite. I can sit in that taxi with pink lights alone at 3 a.m. Kya life hai?
Bombay fry is great, yes. But Bombay
that's the reason.
But that's not from Bombay.
Butter chicken is great in Peshawar. I don't want to live there.
I think it's more of a Goan delicacy though than a Bombay delicacy, even though it's called Bombay.
The more important part was what I do after I eat the Bombay fry. Sit in a taxi 3 a.m. around.
Okay.
Talk about a full social life, Shaili. Life was hard. Yeah. But
talk about a social life that only happens in Bombay, and you can't do this in Delhi because you're so scared damn well who'll come and stalk you and what will happen to your life.
Boys like Spurs will be walking around with their guitars and their long hair and thinking he's really bhola, but in Delhi you're not bhola, you're dangerous. Yeah. I would go with Bangalore in the 90s or Mumbai in the 80s. These 2 options, but definitely not Mumbai.
I was not born in the first part of your life. So
it's called documentary. Take a look at my documentary. Explain everything.
But the criteria is that you both have to come to an agreement. So now you have to argue for Bangalore, or Shaili has to argue for Mumbai.
She reminds me, her vibe reminds me very much of the 3 women in my life. They're very powerful and fierce. And the best thing to do is accept defeat fast because you're never winning. Yes.
Okay.
So I will just go with whatever she says.
Mumbai is best.
Yeah. Okay. Gun to the head, I guess.
Go Eknath Shinde.
I mean, I don't mind 3 a.m. alone in the taxi. I just don't want those guys out of my Malabar Hill area. I just want them out. Can you send them to Delhi? Can't they run Maharashtra from Delhi? Anyway, actually they do.
All right. Next one is the biggest frustration in life. Could come to an agreement on the biggest frustration in your lives.
I've written a book about it,
Yeah, well,
my biggest frustration basically is Indian wearing long pants, Indian men. I don't understand why they do that. It's just too hot. And I don't see the sense. Unless you have a certain protocol, like, you're serving a certain job or sector where you really need it, it just makes no sense. Like, why is Sparish in long pants? Are you in long pants? Why are you in long pants? You've come to the podcast, you're sitting in a studio, you're 2 monkeys doing
Cyrus,
a silly show.
You're the only one in the office in shorts. Everyone has very full pants.
That's why Indians suck. My book is called Indian Suck. It's gender parity. Everybody. Why? Come on.
Terrible.
It's too hot. It's a tropical country. Okay. We're going to Kasauli. In fact, I'll be meeting you on Friday as well, apparently. You're at 4, we're at 2. And they've sent a little memo saying, it's 15 degrees or whatever, wear appropriate clothing. I was like, are you mad? I want to come naked. I want to bank that cold. I want to stand around and feel cold for 5 minutes. I'm going to come back here to the October heat that's going to... Now we're going to be... Next month in Mumbai is horrible. You and your taxi driver suck. Do not come here. Okay, it's going to be so hot, October, November. Yeah.
And then low tide. Oh God, help us. Yeah, but
ouch.
still.
But we have to come to an agreement.
Yeah.
So we agree? Long pants?
So is that long pants are the biggest frustration in life?
Yes. She's written a book.
Yeah,
I
think
can argue.
say that. But women need to wear a lot less.
Yeah. Or rather, wear what they want. They should always wear what they want. Men too. Just wear what you want.
Trust me, all want to wear a lot less. Okay, we're tired of wearing so much.
Really? God.
Yeah, we agree.
My next frustration is shaving, man. What if you keep shaving all the time? Another 6-7 minutes of your life for nothing. Shave it looks bad. Yeah. We went to funeral, shave it looks bad.
We have to shave a lot all the time.
Yeah. Don't worry. As you age, women shave as much as men. It's true. Yeah. It's not like a mean thing to say. It's true. And they're more careful about that than we are. So
Except I just don't want somebody peddling me a pink razor for 8 times more money. Simple.
Yeah, what's this pink razor thing? Is it a better razor?
Not at all. It's much worse. This costs 10 times more.
I just use Aisha's razors. I don't bother. And then I try to clean it because if she finds hair on it, she knows I've used it. So I have to clean it after that. Because the male hair, the female hair is different. What's left, the residue hair. Yeah, and then she gets really angry. Then she may use the razor and not to shave. Oh my God. All right.
Third question. The last one was your biggest pet peeve during the pandemic.
Oh, the fear, paranoia, the madness, just how people became so cowardly, the sissification of India.
They started abandoning pet animals, huh?
Pet animals, the way they treated everybody, the way the genocide of those 40 crore people walking the streets of India. Our sound is suddenly gone for a toss. The government is listening because this was like criticism.
Wait, Shaili, can you still hear us? Because
Shaili, can you hear us?
Lost audio. Oh, you could?
Completely.
Delhi is safe. Maharashtra government got angry with us. Yeah. The Shiv Sena part 2 or 3 faction part of it, not the whole thing. Yeah. So for me, that whole experience worldwide, not just India, just the fear, paranoia, and the way people were so in a hurry to get more scared and send the fear to you, the building WhatsApps, the chats. Oh God, what a sissy world it became. A bunch of bloody sissies. Honestly, I can't tell you. Don't want to sound like Andrew Tate, but honestly, it was just too much. Yes. Let's go over to the champion. She'll give a more educated answer.
Biggest pet peeve
not at all. I don't think it's about an educated answer at all. I think just not being able to get out of a space that you didn't want to be in. It was as simple as that, right? It could be as small as the box that you guys are sitting in.
But didn't you feel that sometimes people were actually happy to be scared? They were almost in a hurry to send bad news and hurry to embrace, let's wear more masks, let's hide more, let's not do anything, let's die in our rooms.
Everyone took out that bharas. I wanted to be class monitor when I was young, but I couldn't, so here I am.
One day I came home because we used to go to the studios, new studios were open. I came back home and I found fruit near the lift in the building. And I said, sir, Chemala ka phal hai. I said, but what does that mean? So apparently he was airing it for 6 hours. Because somewhere they came up with it. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Air the fruit.
That was definitely something I got.
They had time. That research that said 6 hours.
Washing your stuff and then putting it all outside. When somebody I saw put a bottle of beer outside, I was thinking, this is fun.
Look at the priorities. That guy went for beer. These guys went for fruit. Look at the difference. Yeah, that's true. I won't tell you.
But people were spraying disinfectant on their food and all. Huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then wondering why the relatives are dying. I mean, ridiculous. Also the flies. Good news, bad news.
I just couldn't do with a sanitized life the way it was. It's just impossible.
And where is it gone? How much people washing their hands? You know how many times Kunal would wash his hands when we entered the studio? He'd wash the mic. He'd wash everything. That was just rubbish. The mic is not going to kill you. Oh God, it was just, I can't. Never again. Next time there's a pandemic, I'm pulling out my gun and shooting people. I'm like, why are you worried? Die now. Bang.
How soon do you think we hit a new pandemic?
I want it by Wednesday. मैंने order किया Amazon पे. देखता हूँ delivery आएगा या नहीं. We don't know.
Please, no pandemic till everyone's bought out my book.
Hey, they'll read more.
They'll read more.
Reading sales went up. Our podcast went up. Everyone was dying for the next pandemic. People have started going to stage shows. Yeah, disgusting.
All right.
Oh, we have to stop. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Shaili. It's not Shaili.
It's Shaili.
No, it's Shaili.
It's Shaili. The way she's saying it.
Yeah, I'm saying the same thing.
You're saying Shai.
No, I'm saying Shaili.
It's the end of the show and you don't know the name of the person.
Shaili, I'm saying it right. No?
You say Miss Chopra.
Okay. Yes.
Simple. Oh God. Do you like that? Do you like that? Do you like auntie? I hate auntie. I mean, not auntie.
Who likes auntie?
I mean, not auntie is rare, but it has happened. Sparsh, don't laugh. It has happened. Huh? Last question. Do you like?
Incorrect if I say I don't like auntie, but yeah, I don't think I've gotten there.
Yeah, but what's your reaction when they say auntie? Ma'am also is a little too stiff, yeah.
I say I'm wearing earplugs and listening to Dritviz.
Wow. That's authentic version, pirated copy. All right, listen, the book is called, as we say, Bye to Shaili. It's Sisterhood Economy. I'll try and get it right now. Here's the camera. Yeah, there you go. Sisterhood Economy. Please read it. It'll open your eyes. Let's not say solutions. That's a very strong word. It'll open your eyes to the experience that I think we should get both males and females of this generation and the next. It's never too late. Also for those people who are feeling frustrated at 40. Yeah. Read this. It's never too late. You might be the next great entrepreneur. Who knows? Right?
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah, or you could just be the woman you wanted to be. or the man you wanted to become?
You've
Cyrus,
read
you
my
could be the
thoughts.
woman you want to
Yeah, she immediately knows me so well. Auntie Cyrus, yeah, saying bye for all of us. Yeah. All right.
Thank
See
you so
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you. We need you. Send us your questions on Twitter on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.